Hey guys, Sin down here. This is going to be my chapter review to My Hero Academia 191, Dabi/Hawks/Endeavor, or Boku no Hero Academia. This was an awesome chapter. Very, very well done to Horikoshi. And actually, the chapter wasn't very long, so this is going to be quite a short review. I think only about 7-ish minutes long, probably. I don't know yet. But let's go through it. There's only really three main things that really happen. So first, the chapter starts with Endeavor recognizing Dabi through blurred vision, identifying him as the member of the League of Villains who killed the Sand hero, Snatch. And Snatch was the guy who I think was compressed into a ball by Mr. Compress, was it? I don't know. He was compressed in a ball, and he was kind of engulfed in Dabi's flames, and then he just was basically barbecued alive, which is a very rough way to go, especially considering this is a shonen manga. But it also shows you that Dabi is the only one so far, or one of very few people within this manga who's actually gone so far as to murder people. And I think Snatch isn't even just the one person he's murdered several, and the rest of them we've heard about through kind of the media and stuff like that. So yeah, what's it called? Endeavor sees Dabi, and Dabi erects a wall of blue flames around the two highest ranked heroes and himself. And the media recognizes him by his signature blue flames, with Shoto remembering who Dabi is over the live TV broadcast. And Dabi's just stood there saying that he's here just to take back the Nomu. And I breathed a sigh of relief, and then he moves into attack, and I was like, wait, you just told me you were here for the no. But it turns out he's actually moving into attack while the two heroes are basically on death's door, mocking the two injured heroes while he's doing it. He's like, oh, why would I attack you when you're on death's door? So, but then what happens is Best Bunny Girl, that gets the fans feeling a certain way, but kind of hops into the fight, saving Fireboy and Wings Boy. So we have Miruko basically coming in to save him. And seeing this as an unfavorable situation and how it's unfolded, Dabi calls for the help of Ujiko, who I'm not too sure who that is, or whether it's a term he refers to someone by. And suddenly some black liquid is expelled from his mouth, very reminiscent of when All For One used the same liquid to transport Nomus. Now, I wouldn't have recalled that because I've only ever read Boku no Hero Academia through the one time. I'm on this current chapter 191, and I've only ever seen every single chapter once. So I remember very little of what happened beforehand. And it was only because of the Reddit comments and the manga stream comments that I even realized that actually we've seen this black liquid before, and it was used by All For One. So this is a quirk that someone has. Maybe All For One returned to someone, or it didn't even return. Maybe he stole from someone else and returned it and gave it to someone else. But it's able to transport short distances apparently. So telling Endeavor not to die before they can talk again, Dabi escapes through this kind of black liquid, with Miruko too late to kick him into Kingdom Come, which is what she said she would do. Now with this, the media and the helicopter sincerely thank both Hawks and Endeavor for putting their lives on the line, especially Endeavor, and putting basically everything, every fiber of their being on the line to save everyone there. Endeavor then blacks out, leading to the breathtaking part of the chapter. I enjoyed this part of the chapter way more than anything. Like it was so amazing. So we see Hawks and Dabi talking to each other about how they were supposed to meet elsewhere, and how the Nomu they'd used in the attack was more powerful than promised. So instantly, Hawks knew all of this would happen, and Dabi was supposed to encounter them at a different location, but more kind of disconcerting and more annoying and disappointing, especially from like a kind of when you like Hawks, you realize that they were in league with each other. The League of Villains and Hawks were in league with each other. So at this point, my respect for Hawks plummeted, and I was like, I trusted you, you bastard. So it turns out Hawks promised Dabi that he'd send in a random strong guy against the Nomu. And luckily it was Endeavor, because if it had been anybody else, he would have died. And I was like literally anybody else, any other hero, and they would have died against High End. It was just because it was Endeavor and because Hawks was backing him that he managed to survive. So Dabi tells Hawks that this was a test to see how trustworthy he was in terms of how the League would view him in the future, and being the number 2 hero and all, they had to test whether Hawks would be able to gain or garner this trust. So he then Dabi asks Hawks why there were 0 deceased considering the scale of this operation, and Hawks says that he does need to keep up his appearances as the number two hero. The more he's trusted, the more valuable the information he can provide back to the League, which is actually a very logical standpoint from someone on the dark side or going over to the dark side. So with Dabi saying all of this, he says he still won't let Hawks meet Shigaraki, he walks towards a lit doorway, telling Hawks that he will contact him. Obviously, Hawks probably doesn't have the contact information for Shigaraki or the League, just in case they're like the police pop up on their door or something. So the very next page after we see them both kind of separate, Dabi going towards this lit doorway and Hawks kind of in the darkness, we see Hawks instantly redeemed, and I was so pleased by this. We see some individuals asking Hawks to infiltrate the League of Villains because of his keen information gathering abilities, and mostly due to the control he has over his feathers. And we see it in this chapter, when they ask him, how did you know that we were going to have Gran Torino make a small unit and infiltrate the League or something like that? And he's just there and he covers his mouth, and because he's like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to say that. But it's because he has these keen senses, and his feathers are able to infiltrate places where he can't physically go. He knows a lot of things, and we've seen this before. So I'm not too sure who the suited individual and the guy in the white suit are, but it's safe to suspect that they're high up in the food chain amongst the heroes or the police. But it's safe. Sorry, I've already said. So yeah, they're definitely higher up in the police and hero organizations. So Hawks has been tasked with finding out how the Nomu are created. Is it to do with One for All? Is he the sole individual who's able to? Is he the only individual who's able to make these Nomus, or is the League able to create Nomus independently of him? Did I say One for All for One? I think I meant to say All for One. So Hawks is concerned about how many lives he'll have to forego just to butter up the League, but they ask this task of Hawks just because they know he's intelligent and will do whatever he's asked to do to make the long term more beneficial for everyone. So with this mini flashback finished, Hawks walks into Endeavor's hospital room where the Flame Hero is sat up, but he's kind of just sat up a little bit, but he's heavily bandaged. His arm seems to be broken, or it's bandaged up and propped up, so it's probably not broken. That's the arm that I think he used to punch High End down the gullet. So in his head, Hawks apologizes to Endeavor for pitting him against High End, causing Endeavor some serious pain and some serious damage. But the reality of the situation is that Hawks did the best he could given his situation. I'm completely 100% sure of that. He made sure the number one hero was pit against this Nomu, against High End, knowing practically anyone else would have died in this situation, would have been killed in this situation. Not only this, he elevated Endeavor's public standing drastically with this one fight, cementing his place as the number one hero, getting everyone's trust in him and backing the number one hero, which is actually a very important thing for the number one hero. So although the guilt is thick and obvious on Hawks' face, I think he did a great job, and I'm actually really glad he's a double agent for the heroes. But so that's basically the end of the chapter. What was the most surprising part of the chapter for me? Dabi's flames are blue. I didn't know. I've never watched the anime past season 1, and I don't think Dabi was introduced in season 1, so that was news to me. And actually, just one more thing I'd like to address, we're at 8 minutes now, is the fact that Todoroki Enji or Endeavor didn't recognize Dabi. Now, that's not to say that Dabi couldn't still be part of the Todoroki family, which is what the major theory is. And actually, I think I forgot a page here. Yeah, actually, I forgot a page. So as Hawks is kind of apologizing to Endeavor, we see Dabi right at the end, and he's kind of dripping blood from his cheeks from where the staples are kind of input, and this kind of signifies, or it symbolizes, him crying. And right after that, we see kind of a small flashback panel of Snatch, the hero who he killed, and he said he couldn't remember, and he says, have you never stopped to think about how their families feel? And this is what Snatch was saying about to Dabi about the people he's murdered. And Dabi's just there, and he wipes away these kind of bloody tears, and he says, I thought so hard about it, I went crazy. Now, considering it was a comment made about family, and considering Dabi's kind of crocodile tears, it could be, or it could be real tears, and his comment about how he thought so hard about it, it went crazy. Everyone's going apeshit about how this almost confirms that Dabi must be related to Todoroki Enji, to Todoroki Shoto, and to basically the Todoroki family. He must be one of their sons or something like that. And I'm kind of on that bandwagon. I mean, like, Dabi seems to be somewhat related to Endeavor, but Endeavor saw him, and he kind of recognized him as the guy who took out Snatch, but he was still looking at him through blurred vision, so he wouldn't have recognized him instantly. And you'd assume that Dabi has gone through a lot of physical changes in terms of his appearances. I mean, he's got like charred skin stapled to his face, or is it actually the clean skin which is stapled to his face? I'm not sure. Is that charred skin his skin, or is it someone else's skin? Is he kind of like Hannibal? I don't know. But essentially what it was that Endeavor was too out of it to even recognize Dabi. But chances are that Dabi, especially with this comment on the last page, is part of the Todoroki family. So that's another major thing that I totally forgot to write up about, and this was just freestyled. But yeah, the most surprising thing for me was that Dabi's flames are actually blue, because I've never watched the anime past season 1. So let me know what you guys thought of this review. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.